One thing we found in the last couple of days is we really need about 4 to 7 hours to do this because we love to talk about them and we love to play them and we just can't seem to get it all in an hour. But I think we talked yesterday for about 30 minutes before we ever played a tune, but just didn't think about it. All right, I've got the, this is the F-2. If you couldn't quite, if your finances couldn't quite stand an F-4, you could go to an F-2. And it basically has the same appointments on the front, but it has no binding on the back and it's birch back and sides. No inlay here other than the Gibson. It doesn't have the double flower pipe, but it still has the inlaid tuners. And since we are in the Country Music Hall of Fame, I'll tell you that Curly Seckler played an F-2 mandolin with Flatt and Scruggs. That was the mandolin he played the whole time he was with them. So.
And I noticed on the back of that peg head, there's the original plate from the music store that it was sold at.
That's right. There's the original plate. It was sold up in Portland, Maine.
Put in there with Brad's too.
That's right, yeah. So it's still there. Every now and then you'll see little tags. Some things were sold in Knoxville. Is that that's what you got right here?
Yeah, right here is the same thing. Miles Music from Knoxville, Tennessee. Nameplate, it's been there since this mandolin was sold originally, just like that mandolin.
And the Mando bass I've got actually has that same one, so those instruments came from the same place.
So can you imagine somebody taking out a hammer and hammering that Brad into the back of that peg head? That's hard to believe, isn't it? But this mandolin, we had a fellow that came on board with Gibson in 1919. He was an acoustic engineer. He's very, very famous. He was a popular performer as well as a studied and degreed acoustic engineer, a fellow named Lloyd Loar. Lloyd Loar wanted to make the graduations of the instrument more refined, like I mentioned before, and more like Stradivarius and Guarneri style graduations. And perfecting the graduations obviously makes because any instrument is just an air pump. It pumps air. And then the pitch of the strings and where you hold that pitch down is what creates the tone. So Lloyd Loar came along and he played F2s and he played F4s and he experimented with a lot of the different instruments. Starting with in about 1919, I see the graduations become much more refined, like I say. So by 1920, about 21, they were experimenting with this model right here, which is the F5. It's and this is an original signed Lloyd Loar F5. It's March 31st, 1924, and was in amazing condition. It is truly an amazing condition, but has all the original parts. I've actually just fit a new bridge on it because I didn't want to monkey with the original bridge. So. It's a repro bridge on this mandolin, but everything else about it is original, and it even has a Virzi Tone Producer, which was a fixture that Loar experimented with. He was a violin player. He was truly a working musician. He was a violin player and violist, and then mandolin orchestras became popular. He became a mandolin player and mandolist, and then when banjos came along, he became a banjo player. He experimented with pickups as early as 1924, wound his first pickup in 1924, and wanted Gibson to go into electric instruments in 1924. He was only about 10, 15 years ahead of his time, and struck out on his own at the end of 1924. So this is last signing year. This mandolin here is about $225,000 now. So a very nice piece of history, and what a great instrument, great sounding instrument too. So we'll play a little something, and you'll see the difference between this mandolin, this F5, and this F5 is our reproduction of this mandolin, and it doesn't have the Virzi fixture. So initially it's louder, but the Virzi gives it kind of a sweeter sound and helps it to actually project farther. So we're going to play another little Celtic piece.
I was going to say too that it's ironic that the Lloyd Loar signed mandolin, this mandolin is considered the pinnacle of mandolin design. This is the most desirable mandolin in the world. I don't think anybody would dispute that. But what's funny is by the time Loar came along, since the banjo had pretty much usurped the crown of the mandolin, they dropped from about 8,000 instruments to right around 2,000 when Loar was there. The mandolin was pretty much out by the time he designed the greatest mandolin of all time, so it's kind of strange. But
And because of that, there are only about 200 of these signed ones out there in the world. And that's one of the reasons it makes it desirable and popular. And he didn't sign, the only thing he signed were 5 series. So he signed the F-5 mandolin, H-5 mandola, K-5 mandocello, which actually looked like a L-5 guitar that was strung like mandocello, and then the L-5 guitar. And that's all he signed. About 250 total instruments. If you find one at a yard sale, I'll give you my card.
All right, this is a Stephen Foster song. One of our favorite, Angeline The Baker.
You start.